Hi everyone and welcome to the Sales Growth Club TV show. We're here for another week talking about the power of networking. Now, in particular, as I mentioned last week, we're going to talk about frustration. So first of all, if you have got a frustration about networking, let us know what it is. And I'm pretty sure everyone has got a frustration about networking because how good it is how bad it is as well. You know, people got a frustration about it. I can tell you mine is, again, the over-investing. Sometimes I go to the wrong network. I realise it's the wrong network, but I spend too long trying to make sure it is. Does that make sense?
Well, yeah. So you stick with it, believing it's going to get better.
Yeah, and it doesn't, and I need to move on from that quite quickly.
Well, I think that's one of the advantages, I think, of the more independent networking events that are springing around, particularly in the Sheffield and City region, over the more national chains, that they are focused and the quality remains relatively high, where some of the more national chains do follow the formula, which has pockets of success, and therefore you expect that every one of them is going to be successful, and just some of them aren't. Yeah.
That kind of leads me on to one of the frustrations. The first frustration I want to talk about is I can't find the right connections, and that's the groups I go to that I know I should leave quicker than I do, is because I can't find the right connections. So I know that's one of the frustrations that people have. Any advice really on getting around that?
I mean, it's one of those points, right? We've already gone and we've worked out who our ideal prospect is. Back in an earlier month of business strategy, right? We've written down who our ideal prospect and where they hang out. So I guess the first thing to go and check is, are you networking where they hang out? Or have you just picked up a habit? And sometimes those habits are because a friend has suggested it, we've gone along and we've kind of got a bit over enthusiastic, and we're now sort of connected on a social way, which can be all right. But I think it's the first place is just to go back to make sure that it fits your ideal prospect, and if it isn't where they explicitly hang out, is the network that's in the room likely to be able to connect you to the right people? Because then we're into referrals, right? Which is powerful.
And that's something you've got to look at when you go networking, isn't it? Not just who you can sell to in the room, because sometimes that's what it's not about. It's those referrals. Yeah.
So as an example, I'll get some opportunities to talk to people. Not everybody. Time doesn't allow you to do it. So it is about listening to what people are saying and then maybe connecting. Not then, but later on.
Yeah. Another frustration is people sometimes don't see the return on investment.
Well,
is that because they're not taking into account that referral issue, or?
Well, I mean, return on investment. I mean, I suppose if you're spending £12 or £15 on an event, it's not necessarily sitting down and working out it in a maths way. But it's almost like in this, by the end of a month, if I spend £200, £150 on networking, am I seeing my pipeline filling up with opportunities?
Should you be bringing back in what we spoke about a few weeks ago, customer feedback, when asking people, where did you hear of me? What influence did I give you to buy? Was it because we kept networking with each other?
I mean, I think that's certainly a very, very valid point. So your name might be mentioned more frequently if you are out on the networking circuit, because you are connecting in that pyramid sense with more businesses who know more businesses who know more businesses, so it's important. I
think it'd be good to know, your return on investment for the people watching the video. How do you go about working out your return on investment? Because I think everyone will take it differently, won't they?
Well, they will, but I mean, I think it's really important to understand that it isn't just the cost of the networking event, right? It's the hours out of your business. It's the travel.
Because that's small businesses, but sometimes we don't think of the hours, do we? We don't
think of that, right? So we're just there. And please don't get any of this wrong. I'm not suggesting you don't go networking. But there are other places you can take some of the experience of a networking event at a cheaper cost if you are a new business. And you've got to be very, very careful about where you're spending money.
Because that goes to another frustration of what you mentioned there about other areas. But just the networking events alone, a frustration is there's too many to choose from.
There are. I mean, if you look at Eventbrite, right? And you just say networking Sheffield, I mean, you could have breakfast, lunch, and dinner out virtually every day of the week.
Yeah.
And people who run networking events are very keen to get you there. So they're very sort of, I wouldn't say aggressive, but they're very sort of deliberate about reaching out if you've attended one to try and get you there again.
Yeah, and I kind of find that leaders of one are sometimes leaders of other types of networking events as well. So you go to one event and then suddenly you become on like a networking data list.
Yeah, well, you do, and I think therefore it's a little bit back to business strategy. It's your purpose. What is your purpose? What is your core reason for being at that event? And do remember that the networking event itself doesn't have to be the traditional style of networking event where 10, 15, 20 business owners pitch up. It could be a seminar. It could be a local chamber talk. It could be, so I think it will be good as we sort of open up this subject is to look broader across the range of what are networking events versus more what is that traditional view of 20 business owners coming for a conversation.
And finally, one more frustration now we've been told is I'm not noticed at a networking event. Does that just come down to, can we be overcritical and just go, well, it's because you're not standing up or you're not talking enough?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's a good question because, I probably, squeaky chair, I probably spent quite a bit of time starting off almost just like blending in because, if you go to a new networking event, sometimes it is peculiar when you see these very gregarious characters that have almost taken on a pseudonym with little strap lines and even wear items of clothing, and you think, my gosh, do I have to do this much to stand out and be memorable? My sort of a conclusion, having been to these, now not dressing up in fancy clothes and having strap lines and whatever, is no, you don't. But what you have to do is you have to turn up. And what I mean by turn up is you have to be prepared. You have to know what you're going to say. You have to be clear about your outcomes that you're wanting. And you have to take the opportunities when they're there to present yourself a bit broader to people. Yeah, that could be in terms of a pitch. It could be in terms of a value-adding presentation. But I think the core part for me here is be consistent. Yeah. Don't pitch up one time and be like, this, and then the next time sit down and not be part of it. Find the authentic you at these events and be that.
Because I think it can be difficult, can't it? Sometimes when you get too used to the same networking event, you do pull back your exposure. You do. Your visibility.
I mean, how many times do you hear people say, I won't introduce myself because you all know who I am?
Yeah. I
mean, that's crazy. What? Find another piece of value that you can add in your introduction versus saying, you all know me, so I'm going to have my breakfast.
Yeah. Yeah, or I'm speaking later, so I won't bore you now.
Won't bore you now.
Yeah, that's so bad when people say that. I'm like, right, so you're just going to bore me later.
Exactly. So that this thing about I'm not seen. Sometimes it's of our own doing.
Yeah.
And sometimes we have to do something about that to change that.
Sometimes it might be because you are in the wrong networking event, isn't it? Yeah. Make sure your product doesn't fit, so no one really needs to speak to you. Yeah. So you do have to analyse it. Yeah.
No, you do, and that's part of the wash up and part of the reflection. Yeah.
So I think this is going to generate a lot of talk across all the platforms of people watching this video because I know a lot of people do network one way or another, and as I said, there's a lot of frustrations people have, be that wasting time, wasting money, not finding the right connections, not being visible enough, and quite a few others. So do let us know, what is your frustration? Do let us know which groups you go to and what you think, without naming, they can do to improve. It'd be good to know. It'd be good to know, so people, when people go along, they know what to avoid or what to do differently.
Good point.
If you do want to name drop, that's fine with us. But that's all we got time for this week. Thank you so much. We are going to continue talking about the frustrations in the content that Steve's putting out. If you do want to direct message Steve, he's there for that. So do use the power of the group. But from us still here, thank you so much. Have a great week, and we will be back next week with another video to talk about what you should be expecting with your results from networking. From us still here, thank you and have a great day.